Well, that was fast, but it was not completely painless, and it was a royal waste of time. The partial government shutdown, and it's not over. A short time ago, the House did vote ending the shutdown that began Friday night at midnight and lasted until today's vote. But don't pop the corks on the champagne bottles, at least not yet, because in 2 weeks, we could be back at this. That is when the temporary funding of the Department of Homeland Security runs out and we reach another cliff. Meanwhile, get your notebook out. We have some major updates on cases we've been following. First up, the Jeffrey Epstein case. Bill and Hillary Clinton have agreed to talk to the Oversight Committee. What sparked their change of heart? Perhaps it was the threat of prosecution for contempt of Congress. The Clintons had snubbed a congressional committee that had subpoenaed each of them, and also had a Florida congressman, and also now a defendant enters her plea. Congresswoman Sheila Sherfless McCormick is accused of using stolen COVID funds to pay for a 3-carat diamond ring. And that's not all. Today we have new information on the disappearance of Savannah Guthrie's mother in Arizona. A new report describes a disturbing discovery at the crime scene, which is her mother's home. Plus an update on the former CNN anchor Don Lemon arrest. Lemon takes his beef to Jimmy Kimmel. He says he tried to turn himself in, but that the Justice Department wanted to embarrass him and make an arrest. And what is snowcrete? It's a very bad problem, and it's right here in the nation's capital. I will explain, but first, the Clintons making news. Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have both agreed to talk on Jeffrey Epstein. This after last month when the couple snubbed a subpoena to testify before the House Oversight Committee. That committee is in possession of documents from Epstein's estate and wanted to interview the Clintons and others. When the Clintons refused to testify, the committee then pushed to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress. This week, the full House was set to vote on holding the Clintons in contempt and then refer them to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution. So when will they appear? House Oversight Chairman James Comer says former Secretary Clinton will appear February 26th and former President Bill Clinton will appear the next day on the 27th. Comer said in a statement, quote, after delaying and defying duly issued subpoenas for 6 months, the House Oversight Committee moved swiftly to initiate contempt of Congress proceedings in response to their noncompliance. Once it became clear that the House of Representatives would hold them in contempt, the Clintons completely caved and will appear for transcribed film depositions this month, end quote. Missouri Republican and member of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Eric Burlison, joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir, and tell me, what are the questions you want to ask President Clinton?
I want to know what exactly did he see when he was interacting with Jeffrey Epstein. Whenever he was on the plane, he took multiple plane trips. We know that is the case. We know that Epstein helped them fundraise for their foundation. There's quite a bit that we need to get to the bottom of, the extent of their relationship.
Do you suspect or have any reason to believe there's any criminal behavior by the former president?
You know, I don't know that there's been any victims that have made that allegation. I think that there has been some testimony reports that Bill Clinton was at least present and saw some of these minor girls. That's what we need to get to the bottom of in this investigation. So, to me, if he witnessed a crime occurring, that in and of itself is a crime, and if he didn't report that activity.
All right, the other person's former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton testifying the day before. What specifically do you want to ask her?
You know, it's particularly with her involvement in the foundation. So we know that there was a lot of interactions between Hillary and Jeffrey Epstein. He was helping them raise money to their, basically a slush fund for them to have a lavish lifestyle and travel the globe with tax deferred money. So I would like to find out more information about that relationship as well.
Well, the reports are that she says she's never met him. Does that change your mind? And if she says she's going to appear on the 26th, if she says she's never met him, would that make a difference? Would you stop there, or are there other questions?
I think that there's still plenty of questions to ask. There clearly was a financial relationship if Epstein was out there fundraising for them, and I highly doubt that there's never been that she's never physically met him. I highly doubt that.
All right. Well, that's what she says. I mean, you'll get a chance to ask under oath.
Let's see if she says. Let's see if she says that under oath.
Right. Do you suspect her of committing any crime, or do you have any information that she committed a crime?
in regards to Epstein, again, we want to make sure that if they had any interactions, that they knew about any financial transactions or with some of these young women, or if they were witnessed anything or saw anything that they should have been reporting on. Those are the kinds of things I think that we need to find out.
All right. You have the estate documents, Jeffrey Epstein. You don't have the ones from the criminal investigation. Those are the ones that have been released by the Department of Justice. Is your committee going through those Department of Justice? Because that's a whole nother trove of documents.
Yeah, I think that we're working with the administration. I think that they're going to try to make those available in some way to Congress without compromising victims' information. So we're awaiting that opportunity to be able to see the rest of those documents. But at the end of the day, there's been a tremendous amount of information that's been released, and they've made it very easy to search on the website. And so there's, you're one of the things, for example, is I'm just combing through. You're able to see the emails between Jeffrey and his staff. And it kind of identifies a lot of people that were in his immediate circle. So hopefully with those millions and millions of documents, then now that's available to the public, hopefully the public is able to comb through it as well and aid us in this investigation.
Okay, explain something to me. The Oversight Committee is oversight of the government. The Department of Justice is the department that's assigned the task of looking for criminal activity. Department of Justice says that it hasn't found any criminal activity. So what is the purpose? What is your oversight? What is the end? What is the goal of the House Oversight Committee on this?
This was brought forward by Democrats and Republicans on the committee. They were wanting to get information about this Jeffrey Epstein investigation. This is why they filed a privilege motion in the committee to subpoena this information and to subpoena the depositions of about 24 people. At the end of the day, the Oversight Committee has the authority to conduct this investigation in tandem with the Department of Justice. And if we're able to identify anything, look, the more eyes that are on it, go ahead.
This sounds more like your investigation is of the Justice Department, because the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein has been going on for 15 years. I mean, and a lot of questions about deals he's gotten in the past. So it seems more like your investigation should be directed and investigating the Justice Department, and if you have any authority over the state of Florida, which investigate as well. Wouldn't that be more likely within your purview, within your jurisdiction?
Yeah, I think, well, at the end of the day, I think that what the American people expected from us is to provide some form of pressure to release as much information as possible. And that's what the Oversight Committee has been working towards, is a level of disclosure that the public can feel satisfied with, without compromising the information about the victims. And so, if anything, the Oversight Committee took action to compel the Department of Justice to do just that.
Congressman Eric Burlison, thank you, sir. And coming up, disturbing new clues about the missing mother of NBC Today's show host Savannah Guthrie, plus a new turn in the royal ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Was Fergie, Prince Andrew's ex-wife, in on it? That when the record continues.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and they're gonna love it.
Turning now to the former First Lady Jill Biden and her ex-husband, to whom she's married for 5 years, from 1970 to 1975. William Bill Stevenson, age 77, has been indicted for first-degree murder in connection to the December death of his second wife, Linda Stevenson. Currently, Stevenson is being held in a Delaware correctional institution after failing to post a $500,000 cash bail. On December 28th, police were called to the Stevenson home for a domestic dispute call. They found a 64-year-old Linda Stevenson unresponsive. Her obituary says she died December 29th. As an aside, her obituary does not include her husband's name, who is now indicted for her murder. People.com reports that 2 years after Stevenson and Joe Biden divorced in 1975, Joe Biden married then United States Senator Joe Biden. And it's time for our outrage of the day. Brace yourself for this question. Did Jeffrey Epstein father a secret child? And was the British royal family in on it? The allegation stems from the newly released Epstein files. In 2011, Sarah Ferguson, widely known as Fergie, and the former wife of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew and the Duke of York, before being stripped of those titles, wrote Epstein in 2011. Fergie's message reads, quote, "Don't know if you're still on this BlackBerry Messenger, but heard from the Duke that you have had a baby boy. Even though you never kept in touch, I'm still here with love, friendship, and congratulations on your baby boy. Signed, Sarah." End quote. Now, 10 minutes later, Fergie emailed Epstein again. This note got a bit sour. She wrote, quote, "You have disappeared. I did not even know you were having a baby. It was so crystal clear to me that you were only friends with me to get to Andrew, and that really hurt me deeply, more than you will know." End quote. Now, it's never been proven that Epstein has any children. More than 100 people have claimed to be Epstein's child, trying to get some of his estate. Epstein's brother is pouring cold water on the claim of Epstein paternity. He told the Daily Beast Epstein does not have any children, adding the message from Fergie was directed at somebody else other than his brother. The DOJ has warned some records contain untrue and sensationalist allegations, but there is another message from Fergie. In 2010, Fergie wrote this gushy note, quote, "You are a legend. I really do not have the words to describe my love, gratitude for your generosity and kindness. I am at your service. Just marry me." End quote. Now, that message was dated after Epstein was a convicted pedophile. Sarah Ferguson has not responded to these releases, but assuming true that this all part of the Epstein outrage, the more we learn, the more the outrage. And the sheriff's office gave an update in the disturbing disappearance of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother.
We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home against her will, and that's where we're at. The scene is done. We're done with the residents. If we need to go back to get, maybe we want to do something with some other piece of evidence there, we contact the family and let them know. But we've turned that over to the family. Blood, DNA, any kind of physical evidence, fingerprints, anything. And all of that is gathered and submitted to a lab. That lab will report back to us what they find. So far, that what we found from that lab is nothing that would tell us this is who did this.
Well, here's the timeline of what police have told us. It begins Saturday night about 9 p.m. That is when a family member dropped Nancy Guthrie off at her home in Tucson, Arizona. Next, hours later on Sunday morning, her family was alerted that Nancy Guthrie was not at church. The Guthrie family immediately started a search. They also contacted the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Hours later on Sunday night, the sheriff goes public, eliciting from the public any information or any clues about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The following morning, which is yesterday morning, the sheriff announced Nancy Guthrie did not simply walk away. He then added the ominous news that Nancy Guthrie's home was determined to be a crime scene. Last night, Savannah Guthrie posted on Instagram in part, quote, "Thank you for lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment. Bring her home," end quote. Host of Drop Dead Serious podcast on YouTube and someone everyone knows who has watched cable TV and has beaten me to almost every criminal case and trial for the last 20 years, my fiercest competition, Ashleigh Banfield joins me. Nice to see you, Ashleigh.
Hi, Greta.
Okay, so I'm glad to have you on. Finally, I have you on rather than competing with you. So this is particularly good for me. So tell me, this is a very bizarre case. I mean, what do you make of this?
First of all, the mystery. I mean, I think if you work in the true crime business like we do, the mystery is perplexing. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. Who kidnaps an 84-year-old woman and for what reason? I know we've been to this rodeo before through other true crime stories, but it is a very strange circumstance. It's difficult to kidnap someone with limited mobility. It is difficult not to leave a lot of evidence behind when someone can't move well. It is dangerous to kidnap someone who has a pacemaker, who needs medication, and can die without that medication in 24 hours. That's why I find all of these circumstances extremely mystifying.
Yeah, and if it's just a burglary, why would you remove her from the house? And if you thought because you'd been identified, I assume that whoever went in there knew that the person could be identified if it was simply a burglary and would have concealed his or her face.
Typically in the stories you and I cover, Greta, that is what happens. If someone's burgling in the middle of the night and they're caught, they might kill the person that ID'd them, but they will not take that person with them. That is just taking a world of hurt with you. You then have the evidence in your car of that dead person. You have to get rid of a body that could be seen. There is no reason why a burglar would necessarily kill someone and take the body with them to try to hide the evidence. Typically, they kill someone and leave them behind, which is also another big part of this mystery. Not saying that Mrs. Guthrie has been killed, to be clear.
Well, we all suspect that. I mean, you and I have followed enough of these cases that after a couple of days, we suspected, and so often, we're regrettably proven right. But in this case, I think that at the best that Savannah Guthrie and family can hope for is that she's been kidnapped and the police are just sort of playing us to buy time and that there's some discussion being done with a ransom. I have no idea, but that to me would be their best shot, is that the police are just sort of misleading us and for good purpose.
So, and always, right? Because their number one priority is to solve this case, not satisfy us or the public. I mean, they obviously eventually want to satisfy the public, but not compromise their work. I always get that, and I respect it. I will say this, it was very weird. Harvey Levin just recently, who is, your friend, my friend, head of TMZ, he just reported that he received a ransom note at TMZ. Okay, I just want to break that down for a second. I can't see any circumstance where the actual suspect, the person who did this, decides to send a ransom letter to TMZ. I think this is probably someone who's, off base and inserting him or herself into this story by doing this. But nonetheless, it's something that they will have to check out. This law enforcement agency and the associated agencies will have to run that lead down. And that's, drawing down a lot of agency time and resources. And hopefully whoever did that, if it is just, nefarious, there will be action and they will be charged with interference in law enforcement. But that is just one little piece of the puzzle because, Greta, really interestingly, we always read between the lines in these news conferences. And when Sheriff Chris Nanos was answering that question from the reporters just a couple hours ago, he was asked about a ransom question. And he did not say no. But what he did say was, we're looking at all avenues or we're looking at all angles. And he had to say that twice. So maybe he was looking at the TMZ report. I don't know.
Well, you know, a lot of people have these Ring cameras now, and you think that maybe somebody caught on camera, but I also heard that a lot of people sort of put them up a little bit because there's so many animals running around that set them off all night long, the lights and the cameras, so that even those Ring cameras in an area like that, people oftentimes don't rely on them too much. They turn them in a way so that it's not likely to capture someone who you intend to capture. So that's even, you know, going to inhibit this investigation.
A couple things there. You can turn down the intensity, right? So that does mean that not every single motion 50 feet out is going to trigger the camera, like the animals and all the rest. But that a motion that's up close and big and taking up a big piece of data on that camera angle, that will trigger it. So that is critical. Because there was a question about a missing Ring cam that the sheriff wouldn't answer in the front door. I think it was Brian Enton who asked the sheriff, you know, there's a report of a missing camera out front. So that is going to be a big part of the investigation. All Ring cameras are a big part of the investigation, but we also know that people can approach a Ring cam with face coverings, and that can be a problem here as well. I can tell you this about this particular area and this home. It is very dark. It is not a gated community, but there are no street lights out there. So at night, this is a very, very dark area. And I don't know about you, I have my exterior lights on all night long. Not everybody does that.
Ashleigh Banfield, I was right. You still are the best. Anyway, I'm going to listen to your podcast, and I do want you to come back. Thank you very much, Ashleigh.
Good to see you, Greta. I miss you.
See, I miss you. Coming up, did they do it? Is the government back up and running, or is the nation going to be left hanging? That when the record continues.
Hi, I'm Katrina Ziff. I've worked on the red carpet, I've worked at Vogue magazine, and now I work at Newsmax, and I couldn't be happier because it's all about bringing the most important stories in the world directly to you.
Have you ever thought of getting a walk-in tub for you or someone you love? Now is a great time to take a look at getting a Safe Step walk-in tub.
With Safe Step's standard heated seat and new fast fill faucet, you can enjoy a nice warm bath up to 20% faster. And the convenient touchpad control is right at your fingertips.
Each tub comes standard with a dual hydrotherapy system. The 10 water jets can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and improve sleep, while the MicroSoothe advanced air therapy system oxygenates and softens skin.
Safe Step walk-in tubs are built to maximize safety so you can stay in your home and enjoy the comforts of bathing again.
So call now for more information and a free no-obligation consultation.
When you call today, you'll also receive our limited time offer. Don't wait to enjoy safer bathing. Call 1-800-296-0431.
You got better things to do than clean out clogged gutters. Call Leaf Filter today and never clean out clogged gutters again.
Leaf Filter's technology keeps debris out of your gutters for good. Guaranteed. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER today or visit leaffilter.com.
What's the most important thing when you're in pain? It's getting out of pain. Hello! Introducing Wonder Gel, the all-natural pain relief, scientifically formulated using ancient herbs designed to go right to the source of pain. With its anti-inflammatory properties, allowing the body to heal itself quickly. Let me help you get rid of pain. Get a free sample today at freewondergel.com. What have you got to lose? Pain?
My husband is Miguel Cervantes, who was a firefighter with the Rancho Cucamonga Fire District. That's what he absolutely loved. My husband's cancer is directly related to his service as a firefighter. My immediate thought after he was gone was, how am I going to do this? Tunnel to Towers said that it would be their honor to help me out by covering my mortgage. To say that it's been a weight lifted off my shoulder would be an understatement.
You deserve high quality. You really do. At Balance of Nature, we don't cut corners. We could cut corners or extract individual vitamins and minerals rather than source whole foods. But that's not who we are. We don't isolate one specific part and sell it alone. Why? Because phytonutrients are woven into the whole plant. We are real ingredients only, always. Go to balanceofnature.com and subscribe and save today.
Let's face it, folks, car repair costs are not going down anytime soon. In fact, they're only getting worse. Protect your hard-earned dollars with a money-saving plan for your out-of-warranty vehicle with one call to CarShield. Plans offer protections on big items like your car's transmission, engine, AC, and thousands of parts and systems. Call now. Waiting could cost you thousands.
Call CarShield now for your free quote and to lock in your rate with their price lock guarantee. Call 800-213-0458.
Taking you to the White House, President Trump is speaking inside the Oval Office.
I think that just be quiet is probably easier, but I'm glad we got you in because you really have worked hard. This bill is a great victory for the American people. Instead of a bloated and wasteful omnibus monstrosity full of special interest handouts, we've succeeded in passing a fiscally responsible package that actually cuts wasteful federal spending while supporting critical programs for the safety, security, and prosperity of the American people. And this group of people behind me and others, and a lot of votes, they really have done a fantastic job because closing the country, you know, we had a it looks like 5.6, and it could have been 7. We lost 1.5 points because of a 42-day shutdown. And that's the least of it. But we would have been at 7. Can you believe it? 7 GDP. Nobody ever heard of a 7 GDP. So I'm glad we got this done because this would be another 1.5 points or something, or maybe worse. The bill officially ends all taxpayer subsidies for radical far-left woke programming on NPR and PBS, or just a waste of money. It slashes nearly $10 billion in wasteful foreign aid spending, giving money to countries that don't need it. They have plenty of money. And we ended that. That was so important, $10 billion. Think of it. It continues the closure of USAID and creates a brand new America First Opportunity Fund for responsibly providing foreign assistance to nations where it actually serves American interests. So we have nations that do help us, and it serves our interests, so we have something to help them out with. This bill also cuts funding to abusive and weaponized IRS programs. I was a victim of that too. You probably read that. Did you read that recently, right?
Yes, sir.
I was, I guess, the ultimate victim. That were used to harass American taxpayers. It builds on the Republican rescissions package passed last summer, which saved Americans billions and billions of dollars. It fully funds our military, includes a well-deserved pay raise for all American service members, and makes historic investments in the American shipbuilding industry, which is great. We're really starting to do something incredible with shipbuilding. And I don't know if you saw that the United States of America, for the first time in over 30 years, beat Japan. We love Japan, great country, but their power and steel making, that we produced more steel this year than Japan. Think of that, more steel than Japan, and Japan is a powerhouse at that. And we were pretty much dead when it came to steel. So what do you think of that? To me, when I heard that, we did more than Japan. It continues to fund deportation flights that are removing dangerous illegal aliens from our country. It continues historically successful efforts to reduce crime in our nation's capital. We have a very safe city right now. We have a city that is like a different world from what it was a year and a half ago, when you couldn't walk down a street without being hurt very badly. I want to say that in a nice way. Washington, D.C. is a safe city. Memphis, by the way, is down. Crime is down 77%. And in New Orleans, I don't know if you heard these numbers, but in New Orleans, we started 4 weeks ago, max. And crime is down 68%. It's going to be down to practically nothing within the next month. Pretty amazing. But it all helped cut the number of murders in D.C. by 80%. And we have numbers coming up, newer numbers. We're down 97% in murders. It's a horrible thing to even be talking about, murders in D.C. But a lot of people were being killed in Washington, D.C., if you can believe it. And now we have a very safe, I don't know if there's any such thing as crime-free, but pretty close in January compared to 12 months ago. So we have close to 90, 95% down crime. in Washington, D.C. It allows all of you people to walk to the White House instead of getting into an Uber and getting mugged even as the Uber progresses, okay? And it continues funding for the Department of Homeland Security until later in the year. And finally, I am extremely pleased to announce that this bill includes a newly designated, oh, wow, movie star, Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. So she really loves the children, and she's had a tremendous success. So it's the #1 documentary in 19 years. Can you believe this? What do I get out of it? Nothing out of it. Now I had a top model, now I have a top movie star. But we have a great First Lady. She loves children, and she had a tremendous vote on this. And I want to just say, Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative within the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which will support America's foster youth and provide them critical resources as they age out of the foster care system. And the First Lady loves children, and she's been very much involved with children and helping them out and making them better. That's what she wants to do, wants to help them, and she wants to make them better. And she does a great job of it. She's respected, and her movie got really incredible reviews. She's done it. We're all proud of her, actually. It's amazing. Not easy to do that. Not easy to do it. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. If you would have some questions, I might just ask before you do that, these are all outstanding politicians, the top. In my opinion, the top in the whole world, but that's one of those things. I like to build it up a little bit, but they are. They're the top politicians, they're the top political minds. And if you have any statement, does anybody have a statement that you'd like to make? We'll start on the left side. Anybody? How about Mr. Speaker?
Well, this is a big thing, Mr. President. Thank you for your leadership and helping us steward this through. For a long time, we wanted to get back to regular order in the appropriations process. You're standing up here with the best appropriators in the business and have served in many years. And we've forced the muscle memory back. We're getting back to that regular order process. 12 separate appropriations bills. We've gotten them to your desk, and this is a big thing. It seems like a small thing, but it's a big thing. And we're spending less money year over year, and with all the innovations and things that you said there, this is good for the country. And America is back. The hat is appropriate. That's the right slogan.
There's a new hat. We just came out. America is back. Look, CNN's thrilled. Look at her. She's never smiles. I never see her smile. Someday I'll see her smile.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Did I mention that there's significant health care reform in this bill? PBM reform, something that you have been working on, and we appreciate and applaud your efforts. Bringing drug prices down for citizens here in America. Not only that, but we extended telehealth, and also we are addressing maternal mortality in this bill. Rural health care has been a big part of your focus, and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, buddy. You know, a very big thing, I think, for all of us is most favored nations on drug pricing. So for 30 years they've been talking about it, more than that, and it's basically we now will take prescription drugs will come down to the lowest price anywhere in the world. So if a country is selling a pill for $10 and we're selling it for $130, which is not much of an exaggeration at all. We were paying the highest drug prices anywhere in the world. Now we'll be paying tied with the lowest price. It's most favored nations. We will have the lowest price anywhere in the world. So a pill that was for $130 will be down to $20. So you can make a case that that's 800, 900%, or like the press likes to hear, it's about 80%. But we're going to get reductions like nobody's ever seen. And frankly, the Republican Party should be able to win the midterms on that alone. That's the biggest thing there is. Most favored nations, we're going to be bringing the price of drugs down. In my first term, I got it down 1/8 of 1%. And I was so proud because it's the first time in 28 years that drug prices came down. And now we're talking about bringing it down by 80, 90, 75, 68. I mean, I have numbers in the back that nobody can believe. Most favored nations. And remember, the Republicans did that. The Democrats did not do that. Republicans did it. And that's going to have a huge impact also on healthcare because medicine, I mean, it's a big chunk of healthcare. And if you're bringing something down from $100 down to $20, $18, because we were subsidizing the entire world. And frankly, I had to get the countries to go along with it, and I had to threaten tariffs against them if they didn't approve. And the healthcare companies, who weren't easy either, but they said it doesn't matter because they'll never get the countries, because they didn't really want to do it. And I got the countries. I got every one of them. And really, people can't even believe it. But for the people standing behind me, if you use that alone, you should win. We should win the elections coming up. Anybody else? How about on this side?
Well, you mentioned the IRS,
Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
Right.
Their behavior has been atrocious. If you think about leaking your tax returns, the tax returns of others, and never any accountability. I must have questioned Janet Yellen 4 times, 5 times under oath about this, and never an answer. We stripped $10 billion from the IRS in this bill that you just signed. And today, I launched an investigation with my staff on all of these contractors that are associated with the ones that allowed your information to be put out. These contractors that hire activists to come in and do their work. These corporations here in America that bring activists in to do their work, that's going to come to an end.
They did leak my tax returns. It was terrible. The good news is I paid a hell of a lot of tax. I paid tens of millions of dollars. I said, where are my accountants? I want to talk to my accountant. But they did. They leaked my tax returns. They didn't do it in a nice way. They tried to get something out of it. No, they're bad people.
Accountability is coming, though. You think about the phone companies that leaked our telephone records, several of us here.
Right.
Verizon leaked my telephone records. You think about what's happened across the country. This is going to come to an end.
And we should have voter ID, by the way. We should have a lot of the things that I think everybody wants to see. Who would not want voter ID? Only somebody that wants to cheat. Think of it. We don't have voter ID. And the Democrats don't want it. And the reason they don't want it because they want to cheat. Because there's no reason in the world. And I love that debate, Lindsay. I love saying, well, why don't you want voter ID? And you watch them say, I don't know. I just
make them vote.
No, it's a terrible thing. So anyway, anybody else?
Well, Mr. President, you
Please.
said you wanted to make America safer and more prosperous,
Right.
and we have done it. More prosperity means more money in people's pockets, and they notice that every time they go to fill up with gas, and they're going to know it when they get their tax returns that this year are going to be at least $1,000, if not more, greater than it's been in the past, and that's a result of the work that you've done with this whole group. And in terms of America being safer, a number of us were at the border 2 weeks ago. The border is secure. No one is coming across, not the 10,000 we saw every day with Joe Biden. The American people still, in overwhelming numbers, Republicans, Democrats, and independents all say illegal immigrant criminals need to be deported. And Mr. President, you're doing that.
And no tax on tips.
No tax on
tax
no
on
tax on Social Security.
No tax on
More money
Think
in
of it.
people's pockets.
Think of it. And that was all the great big beautiful bill, as I call it, the great big beautiful bill. To me, that's what it is. And people are starting to realize it now. They're starting to see it.
They're gonna
And
see it in their
a tax deduction on if you buy a car, if it's made in America, only if it's made in America. The rest we don't care about so much. But you buy a car, you get an interest deduction. You borrow money, you get an interest tax deduction. And that is, you take interest, you deduct it against your tax. So to me, that's unbelievable for the people, unbelievable for our car companies, which is jobs. Anybody else have anything?
Mr. President, the biggest part of this bill is our national security.
Right.
And thank you. The men and women who serve this country are grateful to you. We give them a pay raise. We're building more ships, as you said, planes, missiles. We need to defend this country, and you're doing a great job in leading us in the right direction.
Thank you very much. Katie, go ahead. You were going to say something?
Yeah, no, Mr. President, this is just unprecedented leadership. The fact that you got everyone to come together and actually get these bills across the finish line, you heard it from the Speaker that hasn't happened in a long time. So 96% of the government being funded, your priorities put in place, Mr. President, so that we can make the country safer, we can make it more prosperous, and not only can we make America great again, but we can tell people now America is back.
Yeah, it's a great, we'll never forget MAGA, and we're all with MAGA, but I thought this was very appropriate, right?
Love it.
Right?
Love it. Says everything.
Cindy Hyde, come on, say something.
Well, there's a little hospital in here, a rural hospital in Meadville, Mississippi,
Right?
called Franklin County Hospital. It would have closed the end of this month without this bill. Thank you from everybody in Mississippi, especially Franklin County.
And we've covered the rural very well. Nobody ever thought it was possible because we had a lot of opposition from the Democrats, as you know, but nobody thought it was possible. That's great. How about it? Anybody back there? Tom?
Best budget for Native Americans ever, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Appreciate that help.
So we'll sign it, and if you would have some questions of anybody up here.
Let me just piggyback. This rural America is taken care of in this bill, and I mean, as Cindy says, so thank you for all America, but especially rural America.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So I probably won't hold this up. And I think holding up one little page doesn't do it justice. In there, it's a lot of stuff, but it's signed. Thank you.
Thank you. On Iran, are the negotiations still happening this week?
Yeah.
Where will they be? And what do you need to hear from Iran?
They're all over. But they are negotiating. They'd like to do something, and we'll see if something is going to be done. They had a chance to do something a while ago, and it didn't work out, and we did Midnight Hammer. I don't think they want that happening again, but they would like to negotiate. We are negotiating with them right now, yes.
Mr. President. Where will the meeting be? It seems like it's
can't
changing.
tell you that.
Mr. President.
There's more than one meeting. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, how was your meeting with Gustavo Petro earlier today, and did you come to any agreement on counter-narcotic efforts?
Yeah, we did. We worked on it, and we got along very well. He and I weren't exactly the best of friends, but I wasn't insulted because I never met him. I didn't know him at all. And we got along very well, and we're working on that. We're working on some other things, too, including sanctions. And yeah, we had a very good meeting.
So you agree?
I thought he was terrific. You know, he was very good. We got along great.
Mr. President, can you give us any update on how the talks are going for potential changes to the Department of Homeland Security? Have you agreed to any specifics?
None. Well, we have a secure border. In fact, we have 9 months now where nobody has come into our country illegally. Now, I don't know if I can believe that because, you know, you go from 25 million people to nobody, but the Democrats do that. You know, they're leaning left, the people that do that report. And for 9 months, I have said nobody has come into our. It is a strong, great border. We do have people coming into our country, but they're all coming in legally. You take a look at that and look at what was going on a year and a half ago on our border, where criminals were coming in, drug dealers were coming in, people from mental institutions were coming in. The worst, you know, they say the worst, I don't even know if I like the term, but the worst of the worst was coming into our country. And now we have virtually our country it's beautiful to see. Even if you go down, you know, some of you, I think, were down there a couple of weeks ago, and you couldn't believe it, right? Because you were there 2 years ago.
10,000 a day.
And 10,000 a day, and now you didn't even see anybody. Nobody comes up with saving lives because nobody comes up. They have to come through the jungles, and they're dying of all sorts of problems, including murder. And we have nobody coming in, and we're getting people out. That we have 11,888 murderers who came into our country. We're getting them out. We're getting them out fast. And the only place where there's a little bit of a problem, and I will tell you this, Minnesota, their crime because of us, because we've taken out thousands of criminals, their crime is down. Not because of anybody else, it's because of us. Their crime is down. But all over the country, wherever we're involved, we're getting criminals out of our country, and the crime rate now is the lowest it's been since 1900. That's 125 years. And that's despite the fact with an open border stupid policy, 25 million people, in my opinion, came into our country. And many of those people should not have been allowed to come into our country.
On Ukraine, Mr. President, yesterday you were talking about how Vladimir Putin had agreed to a pause during the cold weather. Overnight, those attacks have started up again. Apparently the worst.
It was Sunday to Sunday, and it opened up, and he hit him hard last night. No, he agreed. He kept his word on that. It's a lot. You know, 1 week is, we'll take anything because it's really, really cold over there. But It was on Sunday, and he went from Sunday to Sunday.
Are you disappointed he didn't go further or go
Yeah, I
longer?
would like him to. I want him to end the war. I spoke to him. I want him to end the war.
Mr. President, what exactly did you mean when you said that you should nationalize elections? And which 15 states are you
I
talking
want to
about?
see elections be honest. And if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway. But when you see some of these states about how horribly they run their elections, what a disgrace it is, I think the federal government, when you see crooked elections, and we had plenty of them, and by the way, we had them last time, but go to 2020 and look at the facts that are coming out. Rigged, crooked elections. If we have areas, take a look at Detroit. Take a look at Pennsylvania. Take a look at Philadelphia. You go take a look at Atlanta. Look at some of the places that horrible corruption on elections. And the federal government should not allow that. The federal government should get involved. These are agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
The Constitution says it should be states that
Go
administer
ahead.
elections, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
they
That's what the
can, you know what?
Constitution says.
They can administer the election, but they have to do it honestly.
Are you open to negotiating on warrants when it comes to ICE? This is an ask from Senator Schumer.
Meaning?
Requiring search warrants for ICE and immigration officials.
I haven't even thought of it. I'm not thinking about search warrants. Yeah, Lindsey Graham is going to answer that.
No, it makes no sense. If we have to get a search warrant to get 15 million people out, Schumer's telling me he doesn't want them out. It's the most ridiculous idea. They do have some good ideas, I think. But I've got a better idea. It's your idea. In sanctuary cities. On immigration, I know what I'm talking about. I've got the scars to prove it. Y'all are playing like Biden didn't exist. Y'all won't tell the American people about Lake and Riley. It's a one-sided debate. For 4 years, our border was obliterated. They let them come in by the tens of millions, and they want to go back that way. We're not going. So, Mr. President, stick to your guns. If you got reforms that make ICE better, more professional, talk to me. But you should embrace what I'm suggesting. As long as 12 states have sanctuary policy, they'll keep coming. Unfortunately, you won't be president forever. These magnets of illegal immigration have to go. There is no upside to sanctuary city unless you're a complete radical nut job. The cops hate it, fraud around sanctuary cities, and you're going to get more illegal immigration. We'll have a debate. I've been trying to solve this problem, but what the Democrats are doing is they're not getting to the underlying problem. It's not Stephen Miller. It's not Chrissy Nome. It's not me. It's not you. It's policies that have been on the books that don't work. So if you want a debate on how to solve this problem, show up next week. I'm going to take President Trump's idea that it's time to end the insane policy of sanctuary cities. We're going to take it to the floor and we're going to vote, and people in November are going to get to see who they trust to keep the border secure. Schumer or Trump? I'm with Trump.
Mr. President. And by the way, I hope you're going to press that very hard. And the other thing, we are with you. I think everybody's with you. It's a sanctuary for criminals. That's who it is. They could make our lives so much easier. All they have to do is hand over their criminals, hand over people that came into our country illegally that are murderers, that came out of jails, that came out of mental institutions, that are drug dealers. I can't believe in Minnesota that they want to have murderers walking all over the streets. I just don't believe it. Maybe somebody says it's good politics. I don't think it's good politics. I think it's really bad. The other thing we can't lose sight of is you probably have in Minnesota, and it's worse in some places like California, $19 billion in fraud. And we're going to find out, we're very deep into that investigation. But we're not going to forget that. A lot of people think that a lot of this nonsense that's going on is to try and, hide what's going on with respect to the fraud. They have at least $19 billion. You're hearing 9. Now I'm hearing it's 19, and it's probably much more. So it's they talk about incompetence. I think it's not incompetence. I think it's just pure fraud. These are dishonest people. They're bad people. I think they hate our country, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. But don't let this hide the fact that you have tremendous fraud. And, you know, if we find the fraud in this country, you'll have a balanced budget without even cutting anything. You'll literally have a balanced budget. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, in Colombia, are you planning to work with President Petro to fight guerrilla groups and terrorist organizations in Venezuela?
Well, they want me to do that, and we will. We're getting along very well in Venezuela with the leadership. Very, very well. You know, we took in 50 million barrels of oil. It's right now heading to Houston. And we're getting along very well with them, but we're going to work with them, yes.
A few months ago, you had in your office here Peter Mandelson, the British ambassador. You were shaking hands with him over a trade deal. He's today been forced to resign from the House of Lords, the upper house of the British Parliament, over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Just wondered if you had any reaction to that, since obviously he was
I didn't know about it, but I really don't know too much about it. I know who he is, but it's too bad. You know, speaking of Epstein, I will say this. A reporter named Wolf and Epstein conspired. This just came out yesterday in the millions of pages of documents, how crazy this is. Conspired against me in order to fight like hell to make sure I lose the election. That's the only thing that was mentioned about me. Now, about Democrats, some really bad stuff. But about me, that Wolf, whoever Wolf is, he wrote a book, a couple of books, and Epstein conspired against me. Did you know that, Mr. Senator?
I did know that.
They conspired against me, so I lose the election. Or worse. So that takes care of Epstein as far as Trump is concerned. But you got a lot of Democrats out there that are very much involved with Epstein. But I'll be honest with you, you got to get back to running the country, too. Millions and millions every week. You know, when Epstein was alive, nobody cared about him. When he's dead, they care about him. But it's really a Democrat problem. It's not a Republican, it's a Democrat problem. The only problem Republicans have is that we have to get back to, number one, running our country, and then number two, very importantly, letting the public know what a great job we're doing. We have the greatest economy in the history of the world. We have $18 trillion being spent. The record was $3 trillion many years ago, not by us, by another country. I won't say the country. Yeah, please.
Have you been briefed on Savannah Guthrie's mom missing in Arizona?
I think it's terrible.
Would you commit to more federal agents, like helping out on the search?
Sure, I would. I'm going to call her later on. I think it's a terrible thing. I always got along very good with Savannah. Very unusual situation, but we're going to find out. Yeah, what do you want?
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
With the fact that they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really, now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people
like
who feel like they haven't gotten
healthcare,
justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten
You are the
justice?
worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you. Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned health care, and the bill that was just passed does not include your health care savings account. So this is a question for you, and maybe for Mr. Speaker as well.
I'm so proud of the health care savings accounts because it's going to happen. And hopefully, instead of insurance, and I hope this happens, and I hope you guys can do it, let the insurance companies not do quite as well. They're going up 15, 16, 17, 100%. Think of it. The money should be paid directly to the people. Trillions of dollars goes out. The money should go to the people. They should buy their own health care. It can be in a health care, account, savings account, any account you want to make. The money should go to the people. The people should buy their own health care, and they're going to save a lot of money, and they're going to have much better health care. And it's very simple. The problem is the Democrats are owned by those insurance companies. They're owned lock, stock, and barrel. And the Democrats will never vote on it because the Republicans should get that through. And you know how you get it through? The filibuster. Get rid of the filibuster and start voting. Yes.
Mr. President, today we heard that the Clintons set deposition dates to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Any reaction to that and related to the Epstein question?
I think it's a shame, to be honest. I always liked him. Her, yeah. She's a very capable woman. She was better in debating than some of the other people, I will tell you that. She was smart woman. I hate to see it in many ways. I hate to see it. But, then I look at me. They went after me like, they wanted me to go to jail for the rest of my life. Then it turned out I was innocent, very innocent. I had a friend that said, a very smart friend, he's a very wealthy man, knows the life, streetwise guy. He said, you have to be the most honest person anywhere in the world because there's never been anybody who's been examined up and down. I have hundreds of thousands of pages of documents, millions of pages. With all of that, they found absolutely nothing wrong. Remember, his tax returns, they fought for years and years. And then the Supreme Court, I was surprised, they ruled I had to give my tax returns. I'm the only one that had to ever do that. But I had to give my tax returns. I gave my tax returns. They hired the best accounting firms in the world. They found nothing. And this friend of mine said, you have to be the most honest person in the world. He actually said, me referring to him, I'm a pretty honest guy, but I could have never withstood that. They've gone through millions and millions of pages, and here I sit winning an election in a landslide, winning the popular vote, winning all 7 swing states, winning 86% of the counties in the United States. That's why those maps that you see are all red. And so they tried to put me in jail. And I shouldn't feel this way, but I feel badly that they have to go through that. But then I say, but they did far worse than me. They wanted to put me in jail. Think of it. I was a very good president. We had a great first term. Rebuilt the military, biggest tax cuts ever, biggest regulation cuts ever. But, I will say this. I think I can say, what do you think, Lindsay? My second term is blowing my first term away. And my first term was really good.
Reagan plus,
yeah. Well, whatever. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, press. Thank you. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Start moving. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Well, you've been watching President Trump take questions after signing the bill to reopen the government. You can be a Democrat or Republican, but this man is transparent. He took every single question that the press threw at him. He talked about immigration, sanctuary city, fraud, Jeffrey Epstein, and he says, but he wants to talk about getting back to the country. Of course, it's a midterm election, and that's, of course, what matters the most. The American people want to know, what are you doing for the country? But he even spoke about Iran. He doesn't stop taking questions, which is why it's so fascinating, why we take all his signings at the end of the day, because we know that we are going to hear what the president is thinking and saying, which is so very important for the American people. We haven't gotten that in a number of administrations. In fact, no administrations, and I've been following presidents for a long, long time. So once again, President Trump taking questions, no limitations, swatting the media a little bit here and there, as he always does. He'll, if he doesn't like a question, he'll slap back at a reporter. But all in all, we get questions on everything that gets asked: immigration, sanctuary city, Jeffrey Epstein, fraud, you name it. This guy is so transparent. So thank you very much for watching. And Ed Henry, The Big Take, is up next. David Newsmax will see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern.